Welcome back to Cruder.com. In this next video on array formulas, we're going to be going into our first real-life example. Let's jump in and check it out. So here we are at our first real-life example, and we're going to be using this May invoices data table that we've taken out of our database. And let's say that at the end of May and the beginning of June, let's say that our manager goes ahead and says, hey, how much did customer 8154, this customer ID, how much did that customer spend with us in the month of May on rolls of fabric, this product ID right here, or this SKU, 98445? And currently your process is probably just to copy this customer ID and filter on it, and then also do the same thing with the roll of fabric product ID or SKU and paste it into a search and quickly find that that customer has spent $463 on that specific product in the month of May. Now, this process of going through this analysis, that's completely fine, but an alternative to using these filters and then losing sight of the data, we can go ahead and type this same thing using an array type formula to say, if the customer ID equals C20 right here, 8154, if that's in this customer ID list, go ahead and filter it. And then furthermore, filter it on the product ID using D20, which is this product ID, 98445, which is the roll of fabric. And then when this logic test, this whole logic test, when those both are true, go ahead and round up the extended price here to the nearest whole dollar. If this logic test comes back as a false value though, just add it as 0, as you can see here. And then hold Control-Shift-Enter to enter this in. Now let's dig into how I wrote this formula. So first off, let's just go ahead and delete it. And let's think at the very beginning of what are we trying to accomplish. And it all starts over here in these two columns of filtering on this specific customer ID and then this specific product or SKU that has been sold to this customer. So we want to filter our data to those two things. And to do that, we can start by asking Excel, where in this customer ID range or array is that equal to this customer ID? And by now, I think you know if I just hit enter, Excel's not going to like it. So we got to come up and hit Control-Shift-Enter, and we get a true statement. And that's because it's evaluating on the first one that it equals it. But the other ones, let's go ahead and just highlight this whole formula, evaluate with F9, and you see we get true false statements all the way throughout, saying this first section, this first invoice, that's the customer. This second section, that's a different customer. Same with the next two. But when it gets to this invoice number, it's back to that same customer, which is where you see down towards the end, these three true statements, 1, 2, 3, and then the 3 at the beginning, 1, 2, 3. So that makes sense on how Excel is going through and evaluating true and false. Let's hit Control-Z to undo that, and then Control-Shift-Enter just to put it away. And let's do the exact same thing that we did with the customer ID on the product ID. So it's the same logic. Where in this product ID array does Excel find this product ID? And if we hit enter, it doesn't work. F2, Control-Shift-Enter, it says false because the first value is false. So let's pop into it, F2, and then select the whole thing, F9, evaluate it. You can see false, and you see 1 true, 2 true, 3 true. So there's 3 times this product is being sold throughout the month. But we want it to perfectly match up of being sold to this customer. So let me hit Control-Z and then Control-Shift-Enter. When these both are true, we want it to add the extended price on that specific row. Now before we go ahead and type our if statement, let's type this last piece to say round this up. So I'm going to use the round up formula in this one, and I forgot to put an equal sign. So round up, select the extended price, saying I want to round up all of these values to the nearest whole dollar, so get rid of the pennies, and then close it up, Control-Shift-Enter, and Excel's only going to display the first value, which will round up to $100. Now, unfortunately, with these array formulas, we can't go ahead and start referencing all of our array formulas to go ahead and combine it into one large formula. We actually have to take this specific formula and put it in here. So we're going to write it as we go. We're going to say if, and the logic test is going to say if this and this are true together, if both of them are true at the same time, otherwise put 0. So I'm going to comment this out real quick and grab this piece, Control C, and I'm going to put in here within parentheses, I'm going to put this within parentheses, I'm going to put this array formula, and then I'm going to multiply it against the other one. So let's grab this guy and Control C and paste this in here, close the parentheses, let's get out of there. So now we're at this point. We're still in the logic test. Let's put comma, value if true. So if this comes back true, true statement times another true statement is true. A true statement times a false statement is false. So when they're both true, then we want to say what value should I put? The value we want to put in is whatever extended price is on that row. So let's grab this formula. Let me pop back to the beginning, put an apostrophe, comment that out, and shift home, shift and back up 1, copy. Let's go ahead and hit Control Shift Enter. Hop in here, F2, go to the beginning, get rid of that, hit the N key, Control V to paste it, and now we have the true statement. The false statement is when this is true and this is false, or if they're both false, just read it as 0. That's not the criteria we're looking for. Don't add it. End the parentheses, and I'm going to hold Control Shift and Enter. And before I do, try to think what value should be returning right now. And if you answered 0, that's correct. And that's because an if statement true and false, return a 0. The second one, which is true and true, return 127. That's right here. 126 rounded up is 127. The rest of these in between here are all false statements. They do not meet the criteria of the customer being 8154 and the product ID equaling 98445. The last one is right here where it equals both, and we see it's 377.20, and we're forcing it to be rounded up to 338. So I'm going to hit Control Z to undo that and hold Control Shift Enter. Let's actually just move this back to where it needs to be, Control X, and put it in here. Paste.